roll call, we first need to do the COVID-19 motions. So to conduct this meeting wholly electronically and to effectuate both the emergency procedures authorized by FOIA, the Wetlands Board needs to make certain findings and determinations for the record. It's a bit cumbersome, so I ask in advance for your patience. First, each member of the Wetlands Board is participating in this meeting from a separate location. We must verify that a quorum of members is participating and that each member's voice is clear, audible, and at an appropriate volume for all other members. Accordingly, I'm going to conduct a roll call and ask each Wetlands Board member participating in this meeting to state your name and the location from which you are participating. I ask that each of you pay close attention to ensure that you can hear each of your colleagues. Following the roll call, we will establish that every member can hear every other member. Catherine, would you call the roll, please?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I will start with the Wetlands Board members I can see who are called in here. So Deanna Crumbling.
Hi, Dina is here. I'm in Fairfax County residence.
Thanks, Dina. Doug Klein.
I'm here in this county.
Thank you, Doug. Kim Larkin.
Kim Larkin, I'm here and I'm also in Fairfax County near Mount Vernon.
Bert Kramer.
Bert Kramer, present in Mount Vernon District.
Thanks, Bert. And Clyde Wilbur.
Clyde Wilbur is present in Springfield.
Okay, let me just check in with our last two members to see if there's anyone else on the line that I can't see, but John Collins. I believe he's probably absent. And Dean Costello. I believe is also absent. So we have gone through the roster of board members.
I believe we have a quorum. So at this point, I request that Kimberly Larkin accept the virtual gavel to be chairperson pro tem so that I may be heard to make the requisite motion.
I accept the gavel, virtual gavel.
I move that each member's voice, this is the chair moves that each member's voice is adequately heard by each other member of the Wetlands Board.
I'll second that. Does anyone, we need to take a vote. So all members that heard everyone and agree with Clyde's motion, please indicate with a yay.
Yay.
All right. Sounds like we've got everyone agreeing, so the motion is passed. And I will hand the gavel back to Clyde.
Okay, thank you very much, and welcome everyone and all the visitors we have tonight. It's a large meeting for us. The first item on the agenda is the Fairfax County Wetlands Board Subcommittee draft revisions. And the first item is the revision of the board manual. Catherine, do you have anything to report on the update of the board manual?
I do. I've been working for the past week or so with Dean Costello, our board member who is leading this. And we've been coordinating a final few edits to the board manual. He just sent me a revision this morning in which I am still taking a look at it, his revisions, and just making sure that I don't need to provide him anything else. If he has any outstanding things that I can help him with, I'm going to do that here over the next few days. So I would think that unless something major comes up that we don't foresee, that the board manual would be available to be finalized and available for the board's review next week.
Okay, very good. The next two items on the agenda, the Living Shoreline Policy Application Guide and the Supplemental Information Request Form Checklist. These documents were presented at the last board meeting, and subsequent to that meeting were modified based on comments provided by the board. That version was provided to the county attorney and back to Catherine for additional comments and update. The version that the county attorney and Catherine put together was modified and placed online prior to this meeting. So we have a revised document that has been published. I'm going to propose a series of steps here on how to address these going forward. And I ask that you listen carefully because there's a little bit of process here. First, tonight, I'm going to ask for comments from the board on the current version. We'll take those into account, and at the next meeting, and at the end of the meeting, during the public comment section, we will take additional comments from the public. After the public comments, I will request a motion from the board directing me and a volunteer to be identified from the board to revise these documents as needed in a three-step process as follows. Step 1, the documents will be revised based on today's comments and any other comments that we get immediately, and then we will publish that online. After the documents are online, I will request the county staff notify VIMS, VMRC, the county Fairfax Board of Supervisors, and others as recommended by staff that these draft policies are available for written comments. We will request written comments within 30 days of that notification. At the end of that 30-day comment period, the documents will be revised also by me and whoever volunteers with the help of Catherine and republished. After those documents are republished, the board will have a meeting to vote on the adoption of these policies. Does anybody have any questions about that procedure? Hearing none, I would ask for comments from the board on the living shoreline policy and application guide.
And
Do I have any-
Clyde,
Yes, sir.
sorry,
ma'am.
I don't mean to interrupt, but if you would like me to pull those documents up and share my screen, I'd be happy to. It's kind of up to you.
Well,
just
let
in
me just
case.
ask, first of all, do we have any comments from the board before we do that?
I don't have anything, but I have not had a chance to see what the legal guys have changed, so I can.
So you get to comment like everybody else.
And that's fine.
Uh,
How many days, Clyde, just a quick question. How many days do we think we should leave them up there for the final draft or the draft? You don't have a day time frame on here for the posting.
I don't. The intention here is that we will take comments tonight. That the board will ask me, someone else, and Catherine to make revisions as necessary. After that's complete, we'll put it up on the website as noticed, inform people, and from the date of that information going out, we will wait 30 days for written comments.
Okay.
And then we will, later in the meeting here, we'll schedule a board meeting to vote on the documents.
Okay.
So, Catherine, I have a very limited number of comments on the document, and I could just run through those and document them back to you, but they will be on the record from the meeting. Rather than go through the trouble of putting them up, I'd like to suggest let me just run through those.
Sure.
So I have a total of 8 comments. One, we need to add the cover sheet requested by John Collins with the disclaimer. I don't know if there's any problem. It's the same language we already have. Second, I think we do need to replace the potential wetlands map in section 1 because it shows all wetlands of the county. I would have a side comment that I really like the section 5 figure. Under the Fairfax County Wetlands Board policies and procedures, section 4, it notes a series of policies as in place. Some of those are not yet adopted. So I would add the language that the Fairfax County Wetlands Board has adopted or is in the process of adopting these policies. That's really nothing to it. This next one is the first substantial comment. The section 5, no Fairfax County Wetlands Board permit needed. That section had a pretty extensive discussion of when a permit is not needed. And the county attorney's advice to us was to not include that discussion in the guidance document, but rather simply reference the Wetlands Zoning Board ordinance. So I am in agreement with that, but I would like to make the document something someone could read without having to go to another website. So to address that, I'm suggesting that we include the section that's referred to there, section 116-1-3, as an appendix. It'll be 1 page long, and then someone can read the document without ever having to jump someplace else. That's the first substantial comment. On the application checklist, the number of levels of permits is incorrect. It says 4. There are multiples. That's just a small edit. The section 7 needs to have language indicating. So section 7 is the additional information section. And you'll all note that originally we had a large table with check marks under the different levels. The county attorney recommended that we do not do that. So in lieu of that, I think what we're going to do is we'll have the description we have in the application guide, and we'll have the checklist, but we will instruct people that to find out what they need to submit, they need to talk to the Fairfax County Wetlands Board staff. And the same thing is true for the VMRC additional guidance information, that they need to talk to staff to determine if they need to provide all that information. Does anyone have any questions on this? Because I do have one more comment about it.
So the staff information, we are providing both phone numbers and email so that if, so the public can, send something after work or after. What is our method there?
Is the email there, Catherine? I think it is. Yes, it's there.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Just
Right.
want to make sure.
So to have kind of a substantial discussion about this for just a moment, a lot of concern has been placed on the idea about whether someone can simply repair a bulkhead or not without getting a permit. And we do have a section called no permit needed and a rather long legal description of when no permit is needed. We don't actually tell somebody in the guidance document if they're just repairing a bulkhead, they don't need a permit. And after the discussion that we had at the last meeting, where we said, we're very concerned about someone making that judgment by themselves. I think in total, what we're really saying to them is if you're doing anything near a wetland, come talk to the staff. And we're not asking them to pay a permit fee for that. Just come talk to the staff first. So it doesn't actually state that if you're doing repairs, you don't have to do a permit application. But I understand where the county attorney is coming from on this. And I think everyone is better off if you're thinking of doing a project in and around your bulkhead, it's better to talk to staff than to just make the judgment on your own. So that's my opinion about this. And I think that's what was expressed at the last meeting. In any discussion about this, 'cause that really is the substantial change to the document.
I don't think so, Clyde, because I think if you were, I mean, our advice is if you're working in tidal waters, you need to contact somebody and ask what work can be completed without not only permits from us, but just without authorization.
Anyone else have a comment? Okay, hearing none. That's all comments on those documents. Catherine, we can move on to the outreach brochure. Have we made any progress on that at this point?
I thought at our last meeting, we talked about how the outreach brochure could be maybe best updated once the supplemental form is revised and kind of codified, as well as this application guide.
I agree.
That's
Okay.
correct.
So that's the status of that. You want to move on to the update on routing of joint permit applications?
Well, did we want to talk about the supplemental form at all, or?
We just did.
Oh, okay, sorry. I missed that point. Okay.
Let me back up. Does anybody have specific comments on the supplemental information request form? So I just provided a couple of comments on it. In hearing no additional ones, I'd like to move on.
Okay. The only other substantive item on the agenda was for me to give you all a brief update on some wetlands permit applications, which I'm happy to do here. I can share my screen if you'll bear with me. Wait 1 minute. Okay. So you can see the PowerPoint. These are the, okay. So I don't have any specific separate photos to show anyone about some of the more recent applications that or inquiries for information that have come in recently. I just wanted to briefly explain where we are with a couple places or a couple permit applications. The items in purple have been applications that have come in or requests for site visits. So someone that hasn't even submitted a JPA yet, but requested technical feedback on a proposed project for a property. So the ones in purple actually are proposing projects that do not have work that impact the local wetlands board, the county's wetlands board jurisdiction. And this was decided during some site visits over the past 6 months. And those are site visits that VMRC participated with myself as well. So, but just to give you guys a visual of some of the locations that Mark Eversole and I have visited to provide feedback to property owners. Those are the purple sites right there. And then the greenish sites are places that we've visited in the past and may have, or that do have a JPA in process for review or are in the process of being revised. So related to the Green Drive application, we received a revised application 3 weeks ago, and Mark Eversole and I have been coordinating a response back to that applicant on their submitted JPA, and I believe that'll go out by Friday. So that's one that we're working on Let's see here. 6061 River Drive is another application that has been submitted. Initial request for additional information was sent out, and we are just waiting for the applicant, and that's actually kind of the status of the other three, where additional feedback was provided by myself and VMRC, and we're waiting on the applicants to respond. And one item that just came in a couple days ago that's actually not on this location is a revised application. You can see my cursor. Actually, I'll move this box here, but it's up on Little Hunting Creek. There was an application. I forget which street it's on, but it's a site that we received a JPA application for probably in late 2020. VMRC and the county provided feedback, and just didn't hear anything really from the applicant for over a year, and they just resubmitted a JPA. So that application on Little Hunting Creek is with Mark Eversole and I for review right now. So that's my update. If you all have specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or if you want to follow up separately, I can.
So two questions from the chair, Catherine. One, are there any site visits planned coming up in the future?
Not right now, no. I don't have
Okay.
any, but we may need to schedule another site visit for any one of these green locations, and maybe additionally for Little Hunting Creek, that resubmitted JPA. Mark and I, just like I said, haven't had a chance to fully digest that resubmission. So
To remind everyone, typically Catherine will offer to the board when one of these site visits happening, for one or two of us to actually go along with them for the site visit. If you haven't been on one of these, I highly recommend going. Our new member, John Collins, isn't here tonight, and he's never had that opportunity.
I'm sorry, I am here.
Oh, you are, John. Welcome, John. Good to put you in the present column. I would just suggest to you, John, that Catherine give you a ring the next time she's going to do one of these. And if you are able to attend the site visit, it's a worthwhile thing to actually physically see what one of these permit applications look like. Is there anyone else who has never been on a site visit on the board here tonight? Again, Catherine will typically offer this to us, but John, if you can make it, I highly recommend it. The other question I have, Catherine, is we've been kind of pending for some time on Green Drive. Do we anticipate any action on this in the near future?
yes, I hope so. So Mark Eversole and I from VMRC submitted comments back in the middle of December, I believe, and didn't hear anything for a couple weeks, but they just resubmitted their JPA, like I said, about 3 weeks ago. So Mark and I have been reviewing it, and we have a draft response where we are going to ask for a few additional items, mainly be added to the sketches that they've provided to that proposed permit application. There's just a few data points that we would like to see. And then the letter that is going to go out by Friday is going to say that with the inclusion of these items, we'd be willing to move forward with presenting a permit to you all and scheduling that for a future Wetlands Board meeting here, I would hope within the next few months. It just depends on, once they get the letter from Mark and I on Friday, how much time the applicant needs to address the comments.
Okay, so I'd like to ask the board, I've already discussed this with Catherine. I'm fine with them proceeding. Does anyone want to see what's going on here before this letter goes out? Hearing none, go. Okay, very good. So are we done with that item, Catherine?
Yes.
Very good. So the next item is to set a date for the Wetlands Board meeting. And let's just talk about schedule here for a little bit. If we get a limited number of comments tonight and we get like a 30-day comment period, I would say we should not schedule another meeting for another 2 months. Do you agree, Catherine? Is that a good time frame?
Sure. I can let you all know if we need to schedule something sooner because of a joint permit application that needs to move quickly. But I don't foresee that happening. I think that 2 to 3 month time frame or into July is feasible too, whatever you guys believe. But yes, I agree.
I would like to pick a tentative date so we have something that we can move. Would someone like to propose a date at least 2 months out?
So we're talking sometime in May.
I think more like June.
Yeah, I could propose something. Let's see, it's a Wednesday night, 15th, June 15th. I'm not sure when schools get out this year. I don't.
The last day of school is the 10th, June 10th.
So people will be going on vacation possibly. So maybe the 8th. I'd be
I
better.
cannot do June 1st through the 11th.
Okay.
Actually, I like the 15th. Is the 15th a conflict for anyone else? Hearing none, I'd like to suggest that we tentatively in the minutes.
Hi.
Yes.
Sorry, it took me a minute to unmute. I may be out of the country the entire month of June, so you can't really work around my schedule.
Okay. Well, I hope you enjoy your trip. And if you're here, I hope you can join us.
Okay.
Anyone else with an issue with the 15th? Hearing none, Catherine, can you put June 15th in the minutes? And when you're ready, send a notice out to everyone that there's a tentative meeting for that date.
Yes, will do.
Okay. The next item on the agenda are the draft meeting minutes. Something is beeping. Catherine, can you unshare your screen?
Sure.
So I had several comments on the meeting minutes. Here they are. I'm sorry. One general comment is let's see, Kim Larkin did the move last time. That's a minor change. For the election of chair, I did not propose myself as chair. Kim Larkin did that, and Dina nominated me. Then Kim Larkin closed those, and the motion were both approved. So it just really the names are not correct for that aspect of it. And if it's okay with everybody, I'll send Catherine these minor changes. And if there are any others, are there any other comments on the meeting minutes? Hearing none, can I hear a motion to approve the minutes with the changes I just proposed?
This is,
So moved.
I move to accept the proposals.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. So I'm going to move on to the public comment period. And first, let me ask if there are any public comments unrelated to the two board policies discussed above. Would anyone like to comment on any of those? Anything other than the documents? Okay, hearing none. Catherine, you have a list of who's here. Can you call for comments from the additional, any other people that want to comment?
Sure. In order to, I hope this is okay, but in order to keep my list of participants straight, I'm probably just going to go straight down the line that I have. So I will try to go ahead and unmute each person at a time. And hopefully that helps. And feel free to use 3 minutes to share any feedback or discussion points you'd like to. And then after 3 minutes, I'll give you a quick warning and we'll wrap it up and we'll mute you and we'll move on to someone else. So I am going to start with Aaron Windit first. So let me see if I can unmute you. Let me see.
Comment.
Okay, yes, I can hear you, Aaron. If there's anything you'd like to say.
No comment.
Oh, sorry. Okay, thank you. Okay, let me move on to Betsy Martin. Let me unmute you. Okay. Betsy, I believe you're unmuted, so if you have anything.
Okay, I support your documents. I read them and I think they look good, and I believe I'll be submitting some rather minor comments, but that's about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to Bill. I don't see a last name for you, so you should be
Bill McGovern, I have no comment. Thank you.
okay. Thank you, Bill. David Patterson, let me unmute you. Go ahead.
Thank you. No comments at this time. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, Denise Freeland.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you. I wanted to just state a couple of things, and I apologize if maybe this isn't the stage at which to raise it, but since I'm here, I do want to simply mention that when the Living Shoreline bill was passed, can a simple amendment be made that simply states that this be for new development, all new development, as opposed to trying to go back to those of us who have very well maintained bulkheads, seawalls that are environmentally sound. They do not drain anything from lawns, that, you know, impurities, because there are reasonable plantings right up there to absorb anything, and the bulkheads are really sound. It just, without any, you know, this may not be the right time, but it just seemed like a very obvious, simple fix, but nothing is ever simple. So that's one thing that I wanted to say. And another thing is, not sure when you say that you're choosing that there's a section of no permit is needed. It would be very helpful, I think, for homeowners to know. And if you know what that is, why would you not include it to be very clear to homeowners? I think the clearer your documents are, the better things will be observed in terms of recommendations. So those are my 2 comments. Thank you. Thanks for all you're doing.
Thanks so much, Denise. All right. Moving on, Glenda Booth, you are next. If you have anything to share.
I do. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for holding this public comment section of your meeting. As you know, I have a little history with the Wetlands Board, which I enjoyed very much. And I compliment you on your public service. And I know it's not always easy. I have one question for Catherine, and then I have a couple of comments on the on living shorelines. So Catherine, just to clarify, the map you showed of I'm not clear on, are they pending applications? Are they applications that you have deemed to be complete, or what exactly? I don't, you had green ones and purple ones, and just tell me in 30 seconds what they are.
Yeah, the purple ones were folks that had either just contacted me and requested a site visit to see if the work that they were thinking about doing was going to require a public hearing for a Wetlands Board permit.
Okay.
And some of them have actually gone ahead regardless and submitted a JPA. And Mark Eversole and I from VMRC are in the process of responding to say that for each of our jurisdictions that there's no work being proposed in our jurisdiction. So those are essentially like closeouts because there's no permit required. There's no work being proposed in the county's Wetlands Board jurisdiction. And then the others are those greenish ones were more of, they've been in process for a little while now, in the sense that a JPA was submitted, we asked for additional information, and now we're in the process of going back and forth with the applicants to tighten up the JPAs to ensure that they can be complete eventually before, if and when they come to the Wetlands Board for a decision.
Okay, so none of those you have deemed the applications to be complete, therefore they're not ready for public hearings, what I heard you just say.
Correct.
Right? Okay, on living shorelines, I just want to make 3 points. The first one is that the Fairfax County Wetlands was in the state of Virginia to endorse living shorelines as an approach to tidal shoreline stabilization. And I urge you to continue to support the current state law for many reasons, which I won't get into now. But and I also very much endorse Clyde's comments that applicants should talk to staff. This is a rather arcane area of law. It's property owners. It's not an easy thing to understand. And I think it's really critical that anybody proposing a modification to their tidal shoreline consult with the county staff or VMRC staff to understand the law and understand what their options are. Thank you very much for having this public comment section. Good luck to you.
Thanks so much, Glenda. Okay, moving on. I have Julia Miller next.
Hi, good evening. I just want to leverage off of something that Denise said earlier about the living shoreline. We who live in areas where we have bulkheads look forward to getting greater clarity on requirements based on the new law. If we should conduct maintenance or need to repair the bulkhead. So we look forward to that. Thank you for allowing us the chance to attend this meeting, and we will very likely be providing comments when appropriate. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Julia. All righty, moving on here. Larry Zaragoza, let me unmute you.
Good evening. Well, first I want to say thank you very much for holding this meeting. I think it's important to get comments on this material. I also want to say that some people just before this meeting asked me to just note for everyone that both the Mount Vernon Council of Citizen Associations as well as the South County Federation both passed resolutions related to living shorelines and the new law, basically recommending that existing structures be grandfathered. Mr. Chairman, you made a comment earlier tonight that I thought indicated that the plan was if someone needed repair and maintenance, that was something that would be allowed, but it's not in the draft. And I may have misunderstood, but if there's something explicit on that, I would recommend that be included for greater clarity. So that's one thing that I think is very important. The guidance overall, I think, is vague. It provides for considering a lot of relevant information, which is good. And I am delighted to see the inclusion of cost and impacts, because I think that's also very important. And I'm also really pleased to see the desire to have no net loss. I think that is a good goal, and I think that's something that's achievable, and I think we can probably do better than that. But the way that this guidance read, to me at least, it sounded as though it was seeking something much more aggressive than no net loss, and I just had trouble figuring things out. So the greater clarity that we have, the better. Also, I think there's a philosophical question here about how we go about trying to increase our wetlands. One way to do it is basically to try to force people to put in living shorelines. Another way to do it is to engage them and to make it easy for them to put in living shorelines. And I think that the latter approach is much, much better. My fear is that if people are forced, you're going to have opposition from community members, and you're going to have a much lower likelihood of success in terms of no net loss, and you'll probably also have undesired litigation. So I think if we can bring people together, I think that's much, much better. A small comment is that we need to consider, I would recommend that you consider all costs. So the costs are not going to be limited to installation of the living shoreline. If one is ordered, you're also going to have other costs that may arise. For example, a homeowner that I know, they were told if they put in a living shoreline, they'd have to bring in heavy machinery. By the time they were done, they would have to replace their driveway and their walkway because they would be destroyed by the heavy machinery. And finally, I just wanted to note for you, I'll do this quickly, that in talking with someone who recently has been going through this process, they were very frustrated because they had a contractor do some work. They didn't request permits for a kayak launch and just some work on their riprap, and they've gone through They tried to get some guidance from the Wetlands Board, was not here in Fairfax, was somewhere else. They went through multiple iterations, lawyers, experts, sampling, surveys, a very iterative process, a very expensive process. They finally took the advice of a member of the Wetlands Board, and they proposed a small living shoreline. They were then told that was not adequate. I just think that's a horrible way to treat people. If we want them to do something, we should be clear about it and not have so many different iterations, and let them do what they should do. And I really think the idea of trying to work with people as opposed to impose things on them would really be the way to go. Those are my comments for now, and I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Larry. Okay, I'm moving forward. We have, I think, a few more folks. Paul Sanford, I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I think somehow you're, there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sorry, go ahead.
Thanks. Thanks for holding the public hearings. Appreciate it. Just a couple of comments. In reading the guidance, it all seems to make sense in a general fashion. My overarching concern is if there could be more clarity, which is why I would echo the comment of structures that existed, having something like a grandfathering. I was a government regulator for 30 years, and there has to be some degree of judgment. But unfortunately, when there's the opportunity to do judgment, you have things like what Larry had just discussed, where even something that reasonable people might agree upon, folks that are in power in government sometimes find that they have their own personal agendas, and that it leads to bad unintended consequences from what was well-intended good guidance in the first place. And so that's kind of just the thing that I'd like to ask to think about, and I'll try to submit some written comments that perhaps could provide exceptions for things, because of when I evaluate our situation in the neighborhood that I live in, and that many people have just from this neighborhood have just spoken, we have 20 acres set aside as a forest. So in terms of supporting wildlife, we have so many waterfowl here. If we didn't have the canals, I don't think those would exist. There's turtles and fish. I don't think that if you went back 50 some years that there actually would have been waterways here, and that we've actually promoted a healthier environment. And there's a lot of valuable history here. The neighborhood has leveraged the topography, and we have, with the way the houses are positioned, and we have quite a canopy of trees here. So just when I read it, I think, well, we would be fine. The canal is meant to be navigation, and so in there, there's an exception for that. But when it comes to being implemented, there can be real problems, as the one Larry highlighted. So that's my one concern. And if there's a way to be a little bit more explicit about some situations, that's what we'll try to comment on. So thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Paul. And then I have Virginia McGovern.
I have no comment.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me just go back up my list and see if there's anyone we accidentally skipped over. But I believe we've given everyone a chance to speak. Let me just pause for a moment just in case someone. Okay, hearing none.
So if I may, Catherine, closing the public comment period here, I would like to have a brief discussion with the board. Is it possible for you to allow me to share my screen?
I think you can just go ahead and click share at the bottom bar where you mute and unmute yourself. There's a share button.
Got it. Did that work?
Yes, I can. Well, I can see our county code if that's what you wanted to open up.
So the for the board here, the original draft had a description of where no permit was needed, pulling language out of the county code, which is also from the VMRC regulation, where a permit is not needed. And this is that language out of the county code. In the original draft, there was an attempt to paraphrase this. The county attorney struck that and put a reference to the code. And while that is entirely correct, and I agree with him, because in trying to paraphrase it, you end up leaving stuff out. The important language here with respect to the comments we've received on normal maintenance and repair, I would say, first of all, it's my understanding that there is no grandfathering. That is just not a part of the statute or regulation. However, there are these 11 exceptions where no permit is required. And the language that is applicable to most, but not all, of these questions about maintaining a bulkhead or a riprap is item 9. And that's this language that says the normal maintenance and repair or addition of persisting existing roads, highways, rainwater beds, or facilities abutting or crossing wetlands, provided that no waterway is altered and no additional wetlands are covered. So it is my understanding, and it is just my understanding, that bulkheads, riprap, and other structures are included under the word facilities. So this language, facilities, would appear to apply to such structures. And if in that maintenance and repair, there is no alteration of the waterway and no additional wetlands are covered, then no permit is required. And this language, as proposed earlier in the discussion today, is going to be included in the application guide. However, I'm not going to attempt to paraphrase it based on what the county attorney told us. It will be included. However, I would like to discuss with the board members, do you think we should attempt to address this no additional wetlands covered, or should we follow the county attorney's advice directly and simply stick with the reference? So I would like to hear some discussion from the board about this.
It's Kim. I think we stick with the reference because we'll be getting in the weeds. My concern and we can put this in here are still advices to contact the county staff. And when we say no permits or if it's no county wetlands board permit, there's certainly, potential for additional permits that could be required. So for us, I think it's just better not to add to this or try to subtract from it. It is what it is and let it go.
Anyone else?
I would agree with Kim's analysis. We ought to leave things and create new opportunities nor take them away. It's in the statute.
Dina, you've done a lot of work on this. What do you think?
Well, you know me, I like a lot of detail and clarity, but then you run into issues with the county attorney what they're comfortable with. So I think if we stick with what's in the statutes already, we probably avoid future problems that we created for ourselves.
Anyone else have a comment? So, I understand the public comments we've received, that you read through this document and it's not altogether clear that normal maintenance doesn't require a permit. And there may be some maintenance that does require a permit. And it hinges on the language of item 9. However, we've had a lot of comments from the board members and also from VMRC that it's not such a great idea to tell people that they're okay with not needing a permit because of this, other than to quote the entire section. And while this section it kind of misses the mark on clarity, it is complete.
Hi,
Yes.
this is Katie. I don't know if this is appropriate or if you want to take this on, but Larry Zaragoza put a comment in the chat.
I think that we've closed the comment period and we'll pick that up afterwards. I really wanted to get a sense of the board, and I am going to say that everybody can provide written comments on this, and we will take all that into account. So frankly, I am displeased that we can't just tell somebody they don't have to get a permit if they don't cover wetlands. However, in talking to VMRC and listening to all of you, that could be a large mistake, because the danger is that people will think they're not covering wetlands when their construction practices do. And without staff out there to talk to them, we could end up with more people in trouble. And we already have people in trouble. I await further comments. I'm not going to say whether we will attempt to do this or not, because we have written comments to receive. But I get the sense of the board that right now they agree with the county attorney. Anybody else want to say anything about this? Okay. At this point, I'd like to ask for a volunteer from the board to assist me in the 3-step process described above. Does anybody like to volunteer for that? Oh, I can see you all want to do this. Dina, are you available to work with me a little on this? You worked with me on the last set.
I'm really not.
Okay.
Next couple of months.
So I'm going to be a pain here and kind of run through the list. Kim, can I look to you for a little bit of help on this?
I could do a little.
I need somebody else to read through the comments and see if we're addressing them properly.
Oh, I can do that. I can help.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a volunteer. All right. Now I ask for a motion from the board to approve the 3-step process proposed above.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, I ask for a motion to adjourn. Oh, excuse me. Does anyone have any other items they'd like to discuss? Okay, hearing none, I ask for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? Hearing no opposition, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and I want to thank the public in particular for participating. I know that this is a stressful law. I do think it's going to be greatly to the advantage of wetlands throughout the county and the Commonwealth. I look forward to your support, difficult as it may be. Thank you very much. And good night.
Thanks, Catherine.
Thanks, you all. Take care.